show with a granddaughter and a grandmother, Ellen Emmet Rand and Ellen Emmet Rand. They both have the same name, which makes it a little tricky to describe the works. But the more abstracted works are Ellen Emmet Rand, the granddaughter, and the more representational works are the grandmother's works. And I chose them to show together because I thought there was a real decided continuity between their works, and I liked the palette that they'd chosen and that they worked with, and the way that they complement each other. And this that you're filming right now is a fine example of the palette, for one, the coloring, and just the shapes that work together, like where you have this kind of shape coming in here, this kind of shape that kind of builds up over here. And even though they're well, probably 100 years apart, there's just a great connection between those two, and I think they work almost better as a pair than even individually sometimes. I love them together. Kind of laid out the show to follow that same premise all the way around, where I wanted to, like in this case where you have these beautiful forms of this reclining figure, and I love those same kind of block and kind of cubist forms that are forming in that piece as well. So I've tried to make those connections between all the works, and as you go around the room, you'll perhaps make some of those connections as well.
The paintings in this show are done on top of old paintings that I didn't like or that weren't finished. And you can't always see the form underneath. Most of them were figurative, which fits in nicely with Randall's figurative gallery. But even if you can't see the shapes underneath, they undoubtedly influenced the one on top. I tore up rice paper and laid it on top in various pieces. And then it's a series of layers of paint, rubbing, pastel, crayon, acrylic, oil, anything, to try to get the effect of the layers in light. I think my paintings are mostly about light, really.
I loved, when I was putting the show together, how Ellen also has this rough edge around where she's let her paper just, the collages just kind of go beyond the board and the canvas, and so it creates this kind of tension around the edges of the piece. And when I was putting up the show, the grandmother's work also, where she had cut things out of that she wanted to save and cut them out, and just been really kind of loose and rough with her the edges of her paper, and so it made a nice connection as well between those two pieces.
And this little one came out of my grandmother's papers. It's from when she was studying art in Paris. It was probably one of her fellow students or someone. She was always sketching, and you can see she must have been age 20 then, how beautiful her lines are. Just beautiful. Look at that hair and the comb. So it's very exciting for me to have this show with my grandmother. I'm always trying to get her a little more attention. This is a big one. This is the last one that I did that's in the show, this big pale one. And there's a little bit of the figure. This was a big torso of a woman lying on her side. Sort of went like that. I think I can see it anyway. This is a dramatic portrait, unfinished, of a man. My grandmother was well known for painting handsome men. I have another one of this man finished. I think he was someone who worked on their farm or worked nearby, and anyway, it's a gorgeous sketch.
Weren't figure-based, but they had a more landscape quality to them, and they were earlier landscapes that she also went into to and reworked and added a new texture to. But I think it's very clear that these also have a landscape quality to them, which kind of, when you're looking at her abstract work in general, you can almost tell the difference between the figure-based abstracts and the landscape-based abstracts. And this, I see very clear horizon lines in these, and I love that even though they've become, studies in light and color, there's still kind of a formal quality to them which separates them from their original